Welcome to Screening Room. I'm Robert Gardner. Animation, cinematically speaking, is the process in filmmaking whereby inert or non-live subject matter is given life, or a kind of life. It's something that started back in the 19th century when film really began to do two different things, to record nature live and also to put life into inert and non-live subject matter. The two people who represent both of these phases or sort of branches of filmmaking are Lumiere and Méliès. And it seems that ever since that time, film has been going in these two different directions, at least these two different directions. Now, synonymous with animation, in this country at least, is the name Hubley. Not everybody knows that Hubley means two people, John Hubley and his wife and intimate collaborator, Faith Hubley. John, I know that people would be interested in yours and Faith's background before, we get into the contemporary era of your filmmaking. People probably know, but they certainly should know if they don't, that you began as an animator, I suppose in the 30s, was it not?
January 1st, 1936.
Really? Well, that's a good starting date. And that was at Disney Studio? Or what?
Disney Studio.
How big was it then?
About 200.
Did you jump into Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or what? Yeah.
Snow White was underway, and the expansion was on, and he was hiring people from the art schools, young, green, from all over the country.
Was he scrutinizing their work very carefully to make sure that they were going to draw the right way for him or something?
But there were those who did, yes.
After that, it was Fantasia and Rites of Spring, and...
there was a brief period on Dumbo, and there was a strike in 1941. And
was he underpaying the people there, or what?
Well, a lot of people felt it was underpaid, but it was a much deeper psychological issue than that. It was a sense of betrayal on many levels, that people felt the organization was becoming too mechanical and too bureaucratic, and the individual artists were getting swamped.
So then what did you do? You went to UPA, or...?
Yeah, after an Army stint.
Well, you weren't an artist in the Army, were you?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I was very fortunate. In the Air Force, had a motion picture training film unit, and a lot of animation, gunnery, techniques.
Then you're responsible for some of the animated instructional films that were done. Flat Hatting, was that one?
Flat Hatting. That was a Navy series we did. Yeah.
Oh.
But first, the Army, in the Air Force, we did a series called Trigger Joe, and it was on aerial gunnery. Then, when I got out, UPA had a Navy contract, and we continued to make for the Navy. That's very similar to the Harvard-Yale experience I had.
Which is Army, which is Navy? I don't know. Well, so then, as far as I know, you began creating absolutely immortal characters at UPA, McBoing Boing and... Magoo.
Yeah, I didn't have much to do with McBoing except as a kind of a director on it.
Magoo was your idea.
Ted Geisel wrote that.
Yeah.
Magoo was a great love of mine. Or did
incredible
the first 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
My uncle.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
A lot of my father did it too.
Well, he's very human. Look, we have just a little bit more time, and I'm going to get to your involvement with the feature film, Faith, I hope later on, because that, after, when was it you got married? After the Army, or?
Oh, yeah. But it was 55, in fact.
Well, that was after you'd already had a stint in the feature film world, right?
Yes.
Okay, well now, the first film that we're going to see, and this is, not thought out at all carefully, except to show something that's reasonably recent, is Eggs. Is there anything you want to say about that just before we see it, or should we talk about it after we look at it?
It was a film that we made on our own, it was not commissioned or sponsored. It was something we wanted to do on the whole burgeoning population problem, and we did it.
Okay, well, let's look at it. This is Eggs by John and Faith Hubley.
You've got to get up! You've got to get up!
Just ran over a snake. I have never seen so many animals.
It's the way you drive!
I'm a good driver.
You're a good driver.
I
You're
am
the
a
worst driver.
very-
Oh, you're an impossible driver.
Why, because I killed a few rabbits? Slow down, will you? Slow down. You're ruining my reputation.
Slow down.
Joy, I can't keep up with you. You're winning. You're winning. You know what you're doing? You're overpopulating the world. I want more war, more famine, more poverty, more starvation, more death. People dying from famine, poverty. Oh, sure, be happy. Keep on singing.
Not listening to you. I'm making human animals and
People, have you ever heard of birth
mountains and
control?
oceans.
Birth control. You know what's going to happen? 50 to 100 years from now, you will have to have a license to have a baby.
Harvey,
Martha,
stop
what?
your practicing. Stop your practicing for a minute. We might qualify.
It's easier to get a license for a dog, Martha.
Let's go down, please.
Martha, for 100 times, I'm not a scientist. I'm a violinist.
Oh, Harvey, now they want culturally oriented. We're...
Martha, not again. We've done it 10 times before. You can pass the test.
You're a magnificent violinist. The world loves you.
Stop,
Let's
Martha.
go down to the sperm bank now, please.
Martha. All right, let's go to the sperm bank. Let's go to the ovum bank. Martha, maybe
We're
if
gonna
I
find
play
out.
something nice on the violin.
All right. If you're going to start such a thing, and they will only have one birth a year, you will have no deaths. They will live forever, my dear. Death, darling.
Today I am 225 years of age. So, I'll drink a toast to myself. I remember my first transplant. I was around 52 years old. Somewhere around there. Is it my right or my left kidney? Here's to my original kidney. That reminds me of the time I was 100 years old. I didn't know who I was. An identity crisis. I had Mabel's left ventricle, I had Ferguson's right ventricle, and then the most important one of all, A brand new, young, unused pelvic region. Cost me a fortune. But it was worth it.
You'll be extinct. You'll be forgotten.
How can I put up with you? You're pushing me. Now don't push me to the brink. You're going too far. I'll do it. I've got my finger on it. You'll make me do it. I swear you'll make me do it. You're pushing me. Don't push me. Don't push me too hard.
I will push you as much as I want.
Oh, no, you don't.
Go ahead, kill me. Kill me. Do whatever you want. Push the button.
We're in trouble. We're in trouble. It's the chief.
Stop fighting. Keep up working. It was good. And what will not they all look like if I look out? Voila, global school supper. North Ocean. Feed your cells. Control your numbers. Planning. That's for you. Brand new planet. So now, without, not. You're out of your fool.
Well, John, that's not an uncomplicated film. I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to show it first was to sort of, leap right into what are you trying to do with animation. I always ask animators. I only had really two others, I guess, John Leniccia and Matko from the Zagreb group here, and I enjoyed talking to them about what can be expressed in animation. I mean, you as an artist, Faith, what are the limitations on you with this medium, with this form?
Well, I think we have practically none in terms of present problems and present subject matter. Only our own imagination.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rather stock answer. But what I mean by that is that today we feel that we're so confronted with such massive serious problems as a society on a world level, that animation is a medium of communication that can deal with the abstractions and with the massiveness of some of these problems in a way that a camera...
To straighten them out, you mean, or to at least clarify them.
Clarify them, open them up for discussion.
Well, have you had a lot of discussion about this film? I mean, as I say, it's not uncomplicated. There's allegory at several levels, and I'm not sure what you mean by everything in it yet.
It's, for example, the first time we'd shown the film to an audience was a senior class at Friends Seminary. And when the film was over, one student began to talk about Yeats and poetry and meanings of life.
That can only happen at a Quaker seminary.
Another young woman talked about Latin America, and she was fascinated by the design of the God figure and the need to think of the God figure as coming from many cultures and not just a projection of yourself. And then very soon the whole class was talking about contemporary problems they all faced as young people who were concerned about their future.
But there very definitely is a moral dimension to this work and a lot of your other work, and I think that's what distinguishes the Hubley's animation, perhaps, is that it's after ideas, not just diversion or distraction or something like that. Well, John, even somebody as established and as experienced as you are in the film world, you have to go out looking for work, I imagine. And especially if you're going to contribute your talent to ideas as you have in eggs or anything else, where I'm sure, you know, the budget has to be less than it would be if you were doing it for General Motors or something. What is available to you now? What is the market for a short filmmaker? I mean, the short filmmaker really seems to me to be in an awful box.
Disaster.
Yeah.
It's near disaster.
There's no market. There is some work being done with the American Film Institute people trying to do improve the situation on shorts and possibly introduce a national subsidy of shorts, which would be a marvelous idea, as they do in Italy and France and England. But as it is now, everybody makes shorts because they love to, and if they're lucky, they get them seen. And very seldom do you break even. That's not, the short field is that. However, there's a lot of work in television.
How do you divide the responsibilities at Hubley Studios between...
We work together on practically everything from scratch. We've got an idea to do, say, something on true, or the consonant U and E, I mean the vowels U and E blended, and we'll maybe come up with different notions, or we'll work together and come up with a notion. And sometimes Faith will draw it, sometimes I'll draw it up, and we just take them all in.
Do you find that you're taking on just a tremendous amount of information all the time? That,
yes.
You know, I mean, I remember when you were working on the Stars and Men about Harlow Shapley.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to take on all of astronomy and cosmology and everything at that point. And
now we're into a new one. Tell about it.
What's that?
We want to do Eric Erickson's life cycle. So
come on.
8 stages. So I was thinking about Stars and Men because going through all that we could find on Erickson and everything that we were told to read, it was very much like it was a related experience. And at one point, I thought the basic motivation must be this is how we, how we educate ourselves. Otherwise, we'd probably be very stupid.
Wow, that's a tremendous assignment, isn't it?
We have a rough board, and Time Life is going to try to.
Well, is Eric
it.
interested in it?
He's given us a blessing.
Has he?
Providing we do it properly.
Yeah.
We'll try to do it properly.
I'm sure you will. God, that's marvelous. The next film that we're going to see is a very well-known film of yours, The Hat. What are the circumstances surrounding the making of that, John?
Well, there's an organization known as the Institute for World Order, and in about '64 they came to us and they would like to have a film made that just touched on the general notion of international problems and how there is no machinery at all really to deal with them effectively. And this is how we came up with it.
And it's still true.
It's moving into new stages. But
What's the film done, I suppose? Well, what it's done, among other things, is to get a special jury prize at Venice, special jury prize at Tours, Edward Kingsley Award, the Oberhausen Film Festival Honorable Mention, etc., etc., etc. It's not one of your Academy Awards, but it's a marvelous film.
And this particular group, starting with zero, have been able to institute international order studies in something like 300 universities around the world in the last 6 years.
Really?
I mean, that's their work, and the film
Yeah.
has been an instrument in that.
Yeah, I'm sure it has. Well, look, let's have a look at it. It's a fairly long film. It's a little bit more than 18 minutes. It's a marvelous film, and it's part of your collaboration with Dizzy Gillespie again, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's roll the hat.
I must have my hat. Whether you like it or not, I must have my hat.
Well, what you going to do? Come over
I'm
the
going to
blooming
take
line?
it.
It's against the regulations.
Suppose I step over the line anyway.
No, I can't let you do that, mate.
This is my hat that I'm asking you to...
No, mate. Technically now, it's mine. Belongs
What?
to yours.
How do you
purely.
figure that?
Well, it's over here. Look, I'm not allowed to talk on this blooming line.
Did you see me with the hat on?
Yeah, I thought you looked very nice in it. But you bunged it over here. You dropped it off your nut, and it's
Well, that
on the
means that I
ground.
lose my hat?
Well, I don't know if you lose it. I expect if it goes through the proper channels, you get it back in a few months.
What channels are you
I don't know what
speaking of?
channels. I'll give it to the man who puts it in the channels, and then you apply.
Look at all those animals passing across this line. And yet, we, the higher form of life here.
I can't talk.
Listen, you had better give me my hat.
Yes?
Yes, you had better give me my hat.
Look, mate, it's on my side. I mean, if you...
It's my hat.
Well, I know, but if you try anything, boy, I mean, you come over here, and I'm afraid you're going to get...
I'm going to get what?
I'll have to blow it off or
You're not
something.
the only one that has guns. If you
couldn't-
don't give me my hat, we are going to rumble. the snails and the birds crossing the line. So why can't I cross the line?
Well, I suppose it's evolution, maybe.
My hat is still sitting down.
That's what I say. It's been the survival of the fittest. I mean,
It doesn't have to be that way.
You know,
why does it have to be dog eat dog?
It's always been like that. From the word go.
You're a little off.
From the word go.
Dig what the dinosaur did.
Dinosaur?
The dinosaur. Do you know why he's extinct? Because he couldn't adapt himself. It came to the ice age, from getting cold. He couldn't adapt himself to the cold.
He caught a cold.
And split.
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose it's the
so
same.
We have to adapt ourselves to living here with one another because we have become extinct ourselves. You've heard of the parameciums. The phrase one cell.
One cell?
Yes,
what?
One cell.
A what?
Paramecium. Yes.
Paramecium, yeah.
But they pile up in vertical piles to get the better water.
Well, why didn't you get a few of your mates to pile up their hats or something?
What do you mean pile up my hat?
Well, what you talking about?
That is my hat. I'm speaking of people getting along. Why can't people be like animals?
Well, people are like animals. I mean,
Yeah, but I'm not speaking of the carnivorous animal. I'm speaking of, why can't there be something like the sea bass?
No, you're trying to sidetrack me, you know.
No, I'm not trying to sidetrack you at all. No.
Really.
They had some sea bass in a tank with some weeds there, and they would attack one another and fight. But they removed the weeds, and then they stopped fighting. When human beings can't adapt themselves to...
Well, I can't adapt myself to this hat being over here. I mean...
Why are you so anti-me?
Well, I'm not anti-you.
Yes, you are.
No.
Well, why can't I get my hat? Tell me that.
No, look, I mean, it's a...
Now, listen.
Respectfully regarding your sea bass and dinosaurs, there's people on top of me, boy, like the old para-whatnots. You know, I mean, if they sit on top of each other socially, mate, somebody's sitting on me anti-socially, and I can't do nothing about it. I mean...
What do you think about the moon?
Well, I think about the moon.
Yeah, what do you think about the moon?
Well, it's a bit of a daft question, isn't it? What do I think about the moon?
You think the same thing? They're going to draw a line up there, too?
Oh, once they get up there, there'll be so many lines, mate, that you won't be able to move a foot. Oh,
and I'm hungry too.
Do you fancy a meal?
I'll get some twigs.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind being at home right now. You know, we used to have duck on a Sunday. Never used to be as fresh as this, mind you. But we used to have duck on Sunday. Monday we used to have sausages. Tuesday lamb chops. Wednesday we used to have what was left over from Sunday. Cold. Very dry, very dry.
You have children?
Yeah, I've got a boy and a girl and a small baby.
Would you like to see one of mine?
Yeah.
Well, this is my youngest one.
Is he in a sort of a bathtub or something?
Marvelous.
He's a
I sure miss my wife and
Is it a boy or is it a girl? I can't...
It's a boy.
Oh, yeah. He's got very long hair for a boy, really, isn't he?
I'm getting homesick. You know, humans haven't been fighting, but say 20,000 years.
Well, that's quite a long time, isn't it? That's a few rounds, isn't it?
Man lived together in peace all for many, many thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah, and then they start killing each other again.
Getting back to my hat, what do you think about BC, the Egyptians? The Egyptians, you know why they lost? Why the civilization collapsed?
Why is that?
Because of the lines.
You know that's not true.
It's true.
Nah.
It's true. There was a great city on the west bank of the Nile in Africa called Kush. You know what crumbled that? Kush. They weren't thinking worldly.
If I was born BC, I'd be thinking pretty small, I should think. When you lived in a village, you thought of the village. When you
Yeah, but
lived in
everybody
a
wants to
kingdom, you
think
lived
big.
in-
Why should you think?
I read a little book once, History of the World, it was called. It was in 5 pages. Didn't go into much detail, of course, about the Greek city-states. Apparently, these places didn't survive because the states couldn't get together, because they couldn't come to
That's
an
what I
agreement.
said.
Towns like Athens and...
Oh, they were always fighting one another.
Yeah, but I
fighting
mean,
one another within
yeah.
the line. So what do you think they're going to do when someone is outside the line? They're going to rumble until the end of time.
People put lines around themselves to protect their property, to
But wait a
protect
minute,
themselves.
their
It's a
property.
weapons.
Wait a minute. Why do we think that we can survive when these other Greek civilizations didn't?
You had the Roman Empire, didn't you? Went to pieces, went completely to pieces. You've got all them people fighting each other to keep alive. You got the Chinese bit, and then you had the barbarians, didn't you? You had those. Well, of course, that was.
Well, what do you think about?
Because you had those feudal states. You had the.
Well, what do you think
the
about
kingdoms? But even when you came to the democratic states, I mean, you put the sovereignty in the hands of the people. You still.
What do you think started the First World War? Lines. Each one coveted what the other one had over his other side of his line.
I mean, you got World War One, you got World War Two, and then you had the atom bomb. I mean,
wait a minute now, stop right there. Wait a minute, hold it right there. You have atom bomb, right?
I want to hold it right there, but I don't think anybody else.
All that's got to go out the window now. War to settle disputes now is obsolete. And so first thing we got to do is do away with war. So what's the first thing you do with war?
Well, you disarm.
Disarm, yes. It'd be lovely, wouldn't it? It'd be delightful.
No, it'd be marvelous. It'd be marvelous. But what happens if you disarm? I mean, I'm out of a job for a start, and so are you. What do you do? I mean, what happens to me? I mean, I don't like this sort of job, you know. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they can make this gun out of wax.
If it should start now with this bomb, zoom. So we must make an agreement that's binding on everybody, little, big, medium.
Disarm? Well, yeah. As far as I can tell, you need a lawyer.
My hat is still sitting out there.
You need a
Look
lawyer.
at my hat is still sitting out
Go
there.
and call your lawyer.
Atrocious.
Are they?
We are two men, right?
Well, as far as I can tell, yeah.
And we have minds of our own, right?
Well,
Do we have minds of our own? Are we robots?
well, me and you.
I tell you, yeah. You step on my side and I step up on your side.
I couldn't do that, no. What, you mean swap over?
Yes.
What, just for a minute?
Step over my side and I step over your side.
What?
And we might like it.
Hey, no, wait a
We
minute.
might like
No,
it.
you're trying to trick me now, I can tell.
Suppose you were to send one of your children over into my territory. Would that child belong to me?
I wouldn't send a child of mine over this line. I couldn't.
Suppose we just eliminate that line altogether.
I want to eliminate your flipping act.
What do you mean by that statement?
Look, I'm standing here on this line in the perishing cold, looking after your ruddy act, which I don't want.
Well, why can't you just pick it up and give it back to me?
You know, it's not the line that's the trouble, is it? I mean, it's not the line itself. There's a little line round my town at home, there's a little line round the county, there's a little line round... Look, the thing is, you see, there's no law, you see, that's the thing. There's nobody to say, no, you can't do this. Who's going to tell a country to stop doing something?
But everybody should give up just a little bit to survive the one big thing, to be sure that we the whole world has a stake in it.
I mean, I like pea soup. You probably don't like it at all. But there's no reason why we should go to war on that. I mean,
yeah, I like kipper.
Yeah. Well, I like kipper too.
That's one agreement right there.
Of agreement. Well, it's the first one, you see.
Yes. Suppose I didn't like kipper.
Well,
suppose I didn't. Now, what would you do about that?
Well, I wouldn't hold it against you. I mean, I'm very conservative, really. I mean, I never wear a brown suit. People say, they say, George, I've never seen you in brown. I've never seen you in brown. I say, well, it's something I can't help. But I mean, I'm sure it's something I could.
Well, you wouldn't begrudge me the fact of wearing a white one, would you?
No, I think it was charming. You can have your kippers and your white suit, but you know it's going to take a lot of work. I mean, you think of something like an international police force. No, that's going to be very tricky because it's going to be. Well, you've got a judicial system in cities, but you've got to have a judicial system for the continents. You've got to have...
There must be some way that we can eliminate this suspicion of man against man.
Yeah, there's too much to be gained from...
Well, they would have to be some kind of an authority. There's no other alternative.
John, there's so much to talk about that I don't really know where to pick up the thread that is most interesting, but I think that for my own sake, I'd like to know more about your use of sound, and because I do think it's distinctive and does.
We love to get into a sound studio with actors or with children, and
your own children,
our own children principally, and let them improvise, burst forth. And on the case of, we have two daughters, Emily and Georgia, who, following their brothers Mark and Ray, wanted to do a film, and they had been working on it for several.
How old were they then?
So 3 and 5, 4 and 6.
Really?
So finally we got around to it. We said, okay, let's do it. We take them to a sound stage, and they just start pouring it out. For 3 hours they were talking, playing, so on. Then Faith would, when it had bogged down a little bit, Faith would step in and ask a question. You think you'll ever get married? And that would start an whole series.
You can get some pretty philosophic responses at 4 to that kind of a question, I guess, can't you?
Meaningful, meaningful.
Yeah, really. I mean, truly. But did this all lead to Windy Day, or what?
Yes, it did lead to Windy Day, and we're now doing another film with the first tape that we did that we couldn't use, or felt we couldn't use at that time.
Why?
Because
You're protecting the innocent, or what?
No, I think there were two factors. One is because the speech of a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old is harder to understand, even though, in my opinion, much more expressive and much more interesting. The years that have intervened, people are more conscious of child development, and there's much less prejudice. I think so much has changed. People are looser, so you don't have to understand every word. So we're making a film with these two little girls now called Cockabooty, which is a word they invented.
Oh, now this is the one you're doing with students from Yale coming into your studio, or you're going out to New Haven.
It's called Cockabooty.
What does that mean? That's
It's a
Emily's
word.
idea or something?
Yeah, Georgia
It's
kept,
George's idea.
had a rubber duck that she kept calling Cockabooty. And then everything would become a Cockabooty. It became transferable. And the meaning of Cockabooty really symbolized the whole world of fantasy, or imagination.
Do you find that in these sessions where you're getting the sort of verbal input from the kids or anybody else, that they are beginning to determine by this input the nature and form of the film itself? Then, I mean, the words do have a very sort
sure they do.
of formative influence. On
You were asking earlier why natural sounds as opposed to synthetic or manufactured sound, but I think the essence of the character, and we are interested in character, comes in the voice of a real human being.
Faith and John, the next film we're going to see is Children of the Sun. Are your children in this?
All of them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll talk about it after we've seen it. This is Children of the Sun, done for UNICEF, I think, is it not? I think that's on the title anyway.
Ba. Momo. Wow. Way. No. No. Ba 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 ba. Do 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 do. La 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 la. Boo 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 boo. La 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 la. La 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 la. Ba 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 ba. Beep 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 beep. Boom 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 boom. Cling cling cling. Ah, ba beep beep ba ba ba. Beep 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 beep. Oh. Oh.
The evocation of childhood is a difficult thing for, it seems to me to be a difficult thing for an animator to undertake. The getting of kids' voices, real voices, the marvelous burps and sort of noises and so forth that kids make into the track is obviously contributing to a real sense of childhood. But isn't it hard to draw childhood? Wouldn't you think it would be easier to take live action scenes from childhood? You've never mixed...
fun to draw it.
Yeah. You've never mixed live action and animation in your films, have you?
No, a few times, and not with any significant results.
Mm. It's time to ask you a serious question, maybe, and answer it any way you like, or don't answer it at all if you don't want to. But do you feel that there are any obstacles in animation to your realizing yourselves as serious artists? I mean, does the form offer any real obstacles to that? And if so, what are they?
Well, it's a painful question.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the form itself does, but the chance to work in it. I mean, I don't feel we work in it.
You think it's the surroundings to it? You mean the
market, surroundings to it, the lack of money,
yeah.
Because you're limited to what you can do either by the amount of money other people give you, or the amount that you can supply yourself. And I feel when you say serious artist, a serious artist works every day, and we don't really in terms of ultimate statements. Both of us paint almost daily to take care of that frustration, because it is a frustration.
But there's nothing...
But it's mostly that you spend a certain percentage, let's say 25, 30, 40% of your day dealing with matters that have nothing to do with the pure creative.
And then even when you're working, when you have a project that you love and care about, you're limited by having to reach a large audience in a way that has been traditional for them. So that although we take chances, and we probably take as many as
you can afford,
as anybody, one is still conscious of taking a chance, and you shouldn't be. You should be able to plunge and try and explore and be very ready to make a lot of mistakes. And you have to be very careful, and that's a limitation.
Yeah. Look, I'm sorry we can't talk about this more now, but we have to go into the film bit that we're going to see, which is the Zuckerandl thing. We'll have a moment to talk about it after we see it. But
there have appeared in history certain extraordinary men whose thinking was infused with passion, whose philosophies have changed the world. Alexander Zuckerandl, M.D., Ph.D., was perhaps the greatest philosopher of our 20th century. As Aristotle was to antiquity, as Aquinas was to the Middle Ages, so Zuckerandl is to modern times. The influence of Zuckerandl has been such that we are all his followers, whether we know it or not. Of these followers, none is more ardent than our distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Robert M. Hutchins. It was Dr. Hutchins' good fortune many years ago, while he was president of the University of Chicago, and therefore had nothing to do, to discover the great Dr. Zuckerandl and his work. It is our pleasure to present to you now the foremost authority on Dr. Alexander Zuckerandl, his dedicated disciple, his closest, his only friend, the Honorable Robert Maynard Hutchins.
I shall read to you a work in which I've been engaged for the last 7 or 8 years. That's why the manuscript is so frayed. It is entitled Living Without Guilt. It is by Alexander Zuckerandl, M.D., Ph.D., with an introduction that I have written explaining the story of his life and my association with him and the main themes of the great work to which his life was devoted. It was in a small cafe in Baden-Baden many years ago that I first encountered my late friend, Alexander Zuckerandl, whose penetrating analysis of the cause and cure of the ills of our time I have the honor to communicate to the world. The only feature that distinguished him from the other habitués of the cafe or saloon was a small goatee, an adornment that he wore in memory of his teacher, Sigmund Freud. He welcomed me to his table with a remark that I took to be friendly. I couldn't be sure because it was couched in a language with which I was not familiar. I discovered later that it was the dialect of his native village of Adel in Austria. Adel, in the census of 1955, numbered 397 souls, or as the citizens are called, adolescents. It was in this dialect of Adel that my friend habitually spoke and wrote, not that he had to. He was proficient in several languages, including German. At our first meeting, Dr. Zuckerandl said nothing without being asked, and nothing when asked except yo.
Yo.
Which in Adlian means yes, and no, which in Adlian means no. Until I discovered the cause of his taciturnity, I suspected that he was following the maxim of his favorite poet. Das Beste, was du wissen kannst, darfst du den Buben doch nicht sagen.
Darfst du den Buben doch nicht sagen.
Don't tell the boobs all you know. Well, I was under his spell. In spite of the rather inferior quality of the beer, I returned night after night to the little cafe. On our last night there together, Dr. Zuckerandl, after consuming a case and a half of beer, led the group in singing the old Adlian folk song, Silver Threads Among the Gold. Liefkenlein is quer de elf, silbern Fäden mit den Geld, scheinen auf mein Pate zu take. Leben fahrt es hinweg. Doch, mein Liebchen, du wirst sein, immer frisch und fair und fein. Jo, mein Liebchen. Du wirst sein, immer fein und rein und mein. I shall never forget what a figure he made standing there amid the empty cans. Now the question is, how could this little man, Dr. Zuckerandl, he was only 5 feet 2 and he weighed but 7 stone. A stone is 14 pounds. Graduates of American high schools will therefore be able to figure out that Zuckerandl weighed around 100. Now, how could this little man, I ask, single-handed break the chains that have bound us and pass beyond them into the clear, calm, pure air of Zuckerandlism? Other men had built systems, others had told their fellows how they ought to live. They had all failed for one simple reason. They had wanted to change mankind. Zuckerandlism proceeds from a far sounder premise. It supplies mankind with the reasons for doing what it is doing already. At one stroke, Zuckerandlism rids us of those guilt feelings and complexes which, as we all know, are at the bottom of our private and public troubles. Our aim in life, says Dr. Zuckerandl, is to get through it. A leading American thinker of the 19th century seems to have had some perception of this truth. Bill Nye said, "I rise from bed the first thing in the morning, not because I am dissatisfied with it, but because I cannot carry it with me during the day." Our aim in life is to get through it without pain. Freud said all pain is sensation. His genius did not carry him to the insight of Zuckerandl. All sensation is pain. Emerson's inkling of this insight peeps out through the cloak of metaphor. If we walk in the woods, we must feed mosquitoes. Pain can be the object of the good life as well as pleasure. Pleasure is pain, and pain is pleasure, and since there is no difference between them, they are equally bad.
Orientalischen Flibbenflabben.
As Freud said, the only reason that we feel pain is that we feel it. Our aim in life is therefore to get through it without sensation.
Ach, yo.
If Zuckerandl had stopped here, his analysis would have influenced the whole future course of philosophical speculation. He didn't stop. He pressed on. He tells us what to do. He shows us how to do it. With Zuckerandl to guide us, we can face life as Mark Twain recommended, with the serene confidence that a Christian feels in 4 races. And with... And we can face life with the composure of the man who said to his wife, "If one of us dies, I shall move to Paris."
Well, it must have been a lot of fun to do the Zuckerandl show with Hutchins. I'm sure I would accept his put-down of Freud, unless it was Robert Hutchins. It wasn't really maybe a put-down as much as...
Not so much Freud as other
Adler.
Adler.
Yeah.
Wittgenstein.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to tell anybody who's watching who wants to make animated film? Is there
Keep working.
a word of advice?
Keep working.
Encouragement.
We'll be arguing about that last question you threw at us on the way back.
Well, we can straighten that out in the next program, maybe. But again, thanks an awful lot for coming.
Thank you for asking us.
I'll see you in New York, probably. That's all for this Screening Room program. I'll be back next week with another.